There are times I feel overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by the news, current events, transitions, anxieties. And I am not an anxious person. With so much swirling in my head and my heart, it has been hard for me to find the words for this morning. That this week has been one of those times that there is just too much going on with too many emotions that it is raising in me. And I am overwhelmed by everything that is about to happen, and I am fearful of the response. While I do not know the overnight news, it appears that a ceasefire has been reached in Israel's war against the Hamas terrorists. That today is day 471, and tomorrow a ceasefire is to start, and the return of 3 hostages who were kidnapped and terrorized on October 7th, 471 days ago, will start a process that will stretch out over weeks. Over the course of 6 weeks, additional hostages are set to be released to total only 33 people. And we don't know if they are alive or dead. Almost 2,000 Palestinians will be released from prison, the bulk of whom were detained during this war. But the list also of the people who have done really bad things will also be released. That here, during this long time, we have the oldest and the youngest hostage to represent all of them. And the Bibas kids are scheduled to be one of the first released, if that moves forward. But they are 471 days older than those pictures. There will be a surge of much, much needed humanitarian aid into Gaza. And I'm filled with so many emotions, so many mixed emotions. Elation that some of the hostages will be home. Anger that 2/3 of the hostages will still be there. Anger at the continued manipulation by Hamas as they trickle the release of human lives out when it was in their power to release these hostages at any moment. And fearful of the stories which will emerge of what the hostages have endured. How many babies were born as a result of the Hamas atrocities? How many were not? I'm afraid that the world will not care. It has shown itself not to. The Palestinian people and the Jewish people deserve to live in peace. This war, initiated by Hamas on October 7th, has been a tragedy for everyone. Maybe it's truly a Pyrrhic victory. Author N.S. Gill defines that as a victory that inflicts such a devastating toll on the victor that it is tantamount to defeat. Time will tell. And I want every single hostage home now. That is part one of why I am feeling overwhelmed this morning. The second thing I'm feeling is that over these past 15 months, being Jewish has been under attack. Violence against the Jewish community here and abroad has increased. Anti-Semitic messages spray painted on walls or scribbled on desks in schools have spiked, including vandalism on our own synagogue. Coalitions on issues of common cause have canceled Jewish groups because we are Jewish. We have all read about experiences on college campuses. Generously, it is like Rip Van Winkle, who woke up in a completely changed world that he struggled to recognize. Less generously, it feels like we have woken up and discovered insidious intentions. This week's Torah reading also struggles with changes that harmed the ancient Israelites. In the beginning of Exodus chapter 1, it says, Vayakam melech hadash al Mitzrayim, asher lo yada et Yosef. A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. You commented on that verse. And the rabbis unpack this verse in a few different ways. What is a new king? A new pharaoh? The Hebrew word that is used, melech hadash, is a new king, rather than using the other word of pharaoh at that moment. The Midrashim of Shemot Rabbah offers us two understandings. One is that it is actually a new king, a new ruler who brought in new decrees, and the Midrash says that the new king brought in new calamities as well. A new ruler is able to bring in new rules and practices and norms which can completely upend society. In Exodus, that new ruler marginalized the Israelites, enslaved them, belittled them for generations. It was 400 years till Moses was born. As we are in inauguration weekend for our new president, I am aware that these cautions must be brought with every new ruler. We do not have a king, though. We do not have a pharaoh. We have a president within a system of checks and balances, and those balances have weakened and must be fortified. But I think even more concerning is the second insights the rabbis bring. They suggest that maybe Melech Hadash was not a new person, but rather society had changed and forced the ruler to act in new ways. Shemot Rabbah tells the story of the Egyptians throwing the Pharaoh out of power. They said it was for 3 months until the Pharaoh said, "Anything you want, I'm with you." Then they restored him, the Midrash says. Therefore, it is written, a new king arose. The people forced a new kind of king. The people changed and brought about a new ruler who was unrecognizable from before. Not just a new person, but a different set of values. The new ruler brought about fear and ultimately the enslavement of the Israelites and dehumanizing of people. So we collectively have elected our new ruler. These rabbis of the 11th century, I believe, are cautioning us. I am feeling overwhelmed because we are on the verge of these two major things which I cannot control and I worry about. To be honest, I have been searching for hope and perspective for navigating this moment. And I come to the third aspect of this weekend. And I've looked to Martin Luther King Jr. for a teaching. And I found something that allowed me not to explain away these difficult moments, but also not to despair. King said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." Never lose infinite hope. I needed to hear those words this week. I needed to hear that hope is boundless. It is nimble. It is expansive. It is unlimited. Hope is in the very moment that we have created this morning as we have come together as community. Hope is in a bar mitzvah reading Torah for the first time in a public surrounding by his loving family who have also read. Hope is the stubbornness to push darkness and despair aside. I do not know what the next 24 or 48 hours will bring in America or in Israel. But I know I am not alone in facing whatever it is. I am not alone in sorrow or in joy. That is what I need, and maybe some of you do as well. I'm feeling overwhelmed, but I am not feeling alone. It is day 471 for the hostages and almost day one of a new ruler. Let us navigate these next days together. Shabbat Shalom.